Hey, what's up, armchair? Chief X, the Cyber Village Chief. All right. Um, we- we're gonna try to make this one fun. Give it about 4 minutes for people to get up in here. Sounds good. Hey. No. Ah! All right. Ah, boom, 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 boom. Get it poppin', Pete. That's what I'm talking about. That's my nigga Poppin' Pete and J Rock getting down. The OGs was getting down. So y'all see the title. Y'all see the title. So check this out. I've been having discussions with people on the phrase that's been quoted so much in this so-called conscious community about they came from the South. They came from the South. Now, people in the world of academia at times say that too, but they're very clear on who they're talking about. They're talking about Southern Egypt when they say the South. They're not talking about anywhere further than Southern Egypt. They're not talking about anywhere further than Aswan. When you hear the phrase, they came from the South. Now, in this so-called conscious community, for lack of a better words, when you hear the phrase, they came from the South, most of y'all minds go to Dr. Ben, who was famous for saying they came from the South, where God happy dwelled, by the foothills of the mountains of the moon. That is a popular phrase, Dr. Ben says, that has been researched and cannot be found anywhere in any papyrus, because he claimed it was in the papyrus of Hunefer. The papyrus of Hunefer says nothing like that. So people question, did Dr. Ben just lie and make that up, or was he just mistaken? I don't know. But when he talks about coming from the South where God happy dwelled, he's talking about the Great Lakes region, Lake Victoria, and things of that nature. All down, way, way, way past Sudan, past South Sudan, all by Uganda and Tanzania. You hear me? So, it was a thing that Afrocentrics loved to hear because it makes them think, okay, black folk from the South came up and they formed the nation state we call ancient Egypt, that mystical, magical place, right? I'll keep letting my shit go out. Hold on. I'm going to put this down in a minute. So, this is where that comes from in general, okay? Narmer, also they say he came from the South, alluding to Narmer coming from Sudan or other lands of the blacks, which is also misinformation. Now, let's just put a map up real quick, just so we can get some understanding of geography. Here is ancient Egypt, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, right? Now, Narmer comes from Thinis, above or north of Abydos, right here. Personally, I call it Central Egypt. It's a little south, but I call it Central Egypt. You can call it Southern Egypt if you want to. But Narmer comes from Thinis, which is right here. This is what it says he's come from. Okay? All up in the eastern desert. Right? Now, Lower Egypt, Cairo, Giza, Saqqara, Memphis, which was the capital for 1,000 years in the north, right? The delta is a marshland that goes all into the Mediterranean. So the delta basically is the Mediterranean. And things around the delta or near the delta is part of the Mediterranean region. I'll prove that shortly. So you had pyramids and the sphinxes all up around here in the Mediterranean area. So if there's a structure here, just let me give an example where the handprint is, then more than likely people in this surrounding area built the monument that was sitting right here or right here. More than likely, the people in that area where this ancient monument, ancient pyramid, this ancient structure is, more than likely the people in Lower Egypt, in the Mediterranean region, built it. This is not rocket science. This is common sense science. Now, let me get off that. Listen more and type less, Tony. Just listen and learn. I won't say anything wrong. You don't have to debate things when they're correct. It's just the reality. I haven't said anything wrong yet. Just listen. Google where Narmer comes from. It'll tell you Thinis. Or around Thinis. Make up another city, but I'm talking about the area around Thinis, around central Egypt. Calm down. Relax. I know I'm destroying your belief, but it's okay. Just relax and listen and learn. Okay? Now, Tony, don't get restricted. If you're going to be disrespectful and call me fool, I'll block you from ever commenting in here. So I'll just give you a warning now. I haven't disrespected you. Don't disrespect me or call me a name. Be an adult. Last warning. It's okay to disagree with me, but keep it respectful is all I'm saying. Okay, now, let me just put this on the record. The unification of Egypt, Upper and Lower Egypt, was a local unification. It wasn't people coming from some outside areas and then coming into Egypt and unifying it. No. They were local indigenous Africans or indigenous Egyptians up and down the Nile River in Egypt. Let's put that out there. And when Egypt formed, we got to watch our wording. The formation of Egypt was between Upper and Lower Egypt. And Narmer led the charge and conquered Lower Egypt, aka Northern Egypt, and united the two lands. Narmer wasn't a different person or people or of a different stock than people in Northern Egypt. People in Northern Egypt and Southern Egypt are still the same people, the same genetics, and the same stock. There's no different. So when you think in your mind about the South or people coming from the south of Egypt, just think about the same damn people. Get Nubians out your mind. Okay? Let's be clear about that. So, you also have to understand in ancient Egypt, a lot of the archaeology in northern Egypt is less because of flooding and things are buried, and it's more of a wetland in the marshlands in the delta. So a lot of the archaeology has gotten buried. So sometimes people figure out there's more archaeology in southern Egypt, and those are the reasons. You have to understand that. Now, Egypt was formed by people in southern Egypt and northern Egypt. Let's put that out there. So don't nobody take my words out of context. We're just going to get into the nuances. If someone makes an argument that they came from southern Egypt, they can win that argument because it's partly true. If someone makes an argument that they came from northern Egypt or West Asia or outside of Egypt or outside of Africa, that can also be true. You can make a good argument on both sides. So two things can be true. Do you follow me so far? But I personally, and this is just for fun, want to make an argument of that they came from the South because I'm a troll. And I like to bother people and ruffle feathers and come with a different ideology. Now, when I make my argument, I'm going to make a great point. I'm not going to spit anything that's false or wrong. You'll just have to use your logic and figure out where you sit and where you stand. Are you with me so far? Okay, now, let me share my screen and make this point. I was telling people that in recent times, a lot of the archaeology and the science on northern and southern Egypt is changing now because of technology. They have better technology and realizing that northern Egypt holds a lot of archaeological evidence. So let's just read what this says, University of Cambridge Press, okay? Let's just blow this up. The Nile Delta Before the Pharaohs, published by Cambridge University Press, okay? From the 5th millennium BC onward, the Nile Delta constituted a distinct cultural entity that pursued its own economic and social development until the advent of the first dynasty and the political unification of Egypt. Despite this, the role Lower Egypt played in the formative process. Pay attention to wording I said. When I said Egypt formed, the formative, pay attention to the wording. Despite this, the role Lower Egypt played in the formative process of the Pharaonic state has long been overshadowed by a greater focus on Upper Egypt and a narrative of state formation dominated by Upper Egyptian culture. Now, thanks to increasing archaeological projects in the Nile Delta, we can better assess the economic and social changes that occurred in the Delta throughout the 5th and 4th millennia BC, as well as their interactions with neighboring cultures. Revised interpretations of the Anthropization of the Delta and its role in the emergence of Pharaonic civilization are offered in a way that considers local communities themselves no longer distorted by Upper Egyptian remains, later royal propaganda, and historical models from the last century. In this chapter, we will try to follow the path of Lower Egyptian populations, aka Northern Egyptian populations, as they first adopted culture and settled in permanent villages, then developed into a regional culture at the crossroads of southwestern Asia and northeastern Africa. This is important to understand. In this chapter, we will try to follow the path of Lower Egyptian populations, Northern Egyptian populations, as they what? First adopted agriculture and settled in the permanent villages. Permanent villages. The first permanent villages were in the north. Listen to my wording. The first permanent villages were in the north, where people lived and settled. Okay? Understand that. Now, why is it so much of a difference between northern and southern Egypt as far as the archaeology, and why is this changing in 2026? Okay? Now, I just Googled this just to give a brief understanding of why there's the difference. because of flooding and siltation. Siltation, I like that word. Matter of fact, it's right here. Oops, 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 oops. Why is this so slow right now? Siltation. Okay. Okay, less archaeology in northern Egypt, the Nile Delta, compared to the south, is primarily due to environmental factors. Not that it was more archaeology in the south, southern Egypt. It's just because of environmental factors and flooding and siltation for the Nile, a lot of things are buried. So, right, knowing that and understanding this, you have to say, you know what? We may be off in our thinking. Now, okay, so less archaeology, primarily due to environmental factors, specifically heavy siltation from the Nile, which has what? Buried sites under deep alluvial deposits, making excavation difficult. Furthermore, the high groundwater table in the delta leads to waterlogged conditions, destroying organic materials and causing rapid deterioration of stone remains, while rapid modern urbanization and agriculture have destroyed many sites. Okay? Do we understand that? Key factors for the lack of archaeology in northern Egypt include what? Environmental preservation, siltation. The delta's heavy silt and sediment deposits have buried ancient, often mud brick settlements deep underground. High water table, the high saline water table in the north destroys archaeology material through corrosion. It prevents the preservation of organic matter, unlike the dry desert conditions in southern Egypt. So there's environmental factors involved, also known as a nuance we have to think about. Okay? Modern development in agriculture, rapid population growth in the Delta regime has led to the expansion of cities, villages, infrastructure over potential archaeological sites, right? Physical destruction of evidence, the combination of humidity and in some cases the reuse of stone from northern sites for building materials over millennia has removed surface evidence, right? In contrast, Upper Egypt, southern Egypt, has a dry climate and less agricultural disruption, leading to better preservation of stone monuments in the desert margins. Okay. This was pretty plain, and I'm just giving an understanding of why, over the years, southern Egypt has shown more archaeological evidence. Okay, so this is just that was piggybacking off of this, letting you know why. And now our technology is changing, so all that shit's about to change, right? Now, Chief X says the title is I'm making the argument that they came from the north and not the south. Well, let's go get into it. Now, if you just simply Google early Neolithic farmers who introduced agriculture into Egypt, circa 6,000, 5,000 BC, primarily migrated from the Levant, Southwest Asia, Middle East. So if these early Neolithic farmers are migrating from the Levant, Southwest Asia, Middle East, and bringing domesticated crops and animals like sheep, goats across the Sinai Peninsula. Sinai Peninsula is Egypt, but the Sinai Peninsula is in West Asia. Do you understand this? Okay. Genetic studies also influence from Anatolia, modern day Turkey, farmers. So all this is backing when I say they came from the north. They migrated in thousands of years before there was an Egyptian nation state. If someone simply asked me or Black Americans, where do you come from? Where's your distant ancestry? The factual and only answer is West Central Africa. But I'm here in Cali. I'm in Los Angeles. Just like Narmer, King Tut is in Egypt, but they, like me, also have distant ancestors in ancestry. My distant ancestors come from West and Central Africa, not Los Angeles. Queen T, King Tut, their distant ancestors come from West Asia. Common sense science. Now, are they Egyptians and Africans? Yes. Just like I'm American. It's not rocket science. Slow your roll, Tony. We'll get to that. I'm doing a presentation. Just sit back and learn. It's a process. I'm going to get into all the political form. I'm going to get into all that. Sit back and learn, bro. We got you. Stop trying to make an argument before I finish the presentation. You don't even know what I'm going to say yet. Like, you guys be way too emotional in the comments sometimes. You just, oh, he might say something. Let me try to control the audience and sway the audience and get to calm down. Calm down. You can't control and sway the audience over here. I got the audience covered. Okay, check this out. So, I just wanted to make that point. Now, early Neolithic farmers introduced agriculture to Egypt, primarily migrating from the Levant, Southwest Asia, Middle East, bringing domesticated crops and animals like sheep and goats across the Sinai Peninsula. Genetic studies also suggest influence from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, farmers. Key details about origins of early Egyptian agriculture. Source region. The Neolithic package included emmer, wheat, barley, and livestock. Originated in the Fertile Crescent before arriving in Egypt. Route of arrival. The primary, most accepted route for these domesticates was through the Sinai Peninsula into the Nile Delta. I didn't make that up. That's just the reality. And it's okay to embrace that reality. Okay? The Sinai Peninsula is Egypt, but it's located in West Asia. They came from the north. Early sites, the earliest evidence of this agricultural transition appears in the Fayum Oasis, the Marindi Beni Salam in the Delta. Okay? Fayum Oasis is Middle Egypt. This is northern Egypt. Okay. Cultural blend. While Neolithic techniques arrived from the Levant, they were adopted by indigenous North African hunter-gatherer populations, creating a blended culture. In other words, what this is saying, the MENA region, Middle Eastern North Africa, MENA, Middle Eastern North African, the MENA region, Middle Eastern North Africa, blended and created what? A blended culture. So people from West Asia or the North arrived from the Levant and were adopted by indigenous North African hunter-gatherers populations. So I was saying that someone got mad at me because I said they were still hunter-gathering down in the South. And I said, deep, deep, deep down in the South, they were still hunter-gatherer. They were. In 2026, they got hunter-gatherers still deep, deep, deep in the South. The Hadza tribe, the Pygmies, these are hunter-gatherers in 2026. Let alone in the Neolithic period. Okay? So they were hunter and gatherers before this Neolithic package came. Let's be clear. Alternative theory, some researchers suggest a localized development of agriculture where livestock was adopted from the Levant, but some crops may have been domesticated in the surrounding Sahara region. Okay, let's move on. All right. Britannica. What Britannica say, Chief X? We want to just nail a few points down. Nail a few points down, okay? Come on, computer. My shit be freezing on me. Bear with me, people. My computer froze. I got so many screens up. I need to learn how to work the what they call that? PowerPoint. Do a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, here we go. In ancient Egypt, agriculture exploitation apparently did not intensify until, let me make this a little smaller so we can all see. Okay, to the left. In ancient Egypt, agriculture exploitation apparently did not, intensify until domesticated animals from Southwest Asia were introduced by the first quarter of the 7th millennium BP, right? All this keeping sheep, goats, and swine, blah, 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 right? Let me see. Was it something I would need it from here? Okay, let's move on. Excuse me, people. My stuff is slow right now. My computer's slow. It's thinking. Okay. So let's just make sure we understand this. Yes, archaeological research in northern Egypt, specifically the Nile Delta region, is increasingly revealing that the area has a much deeper and more significant prehistoric and early dynastic history than was previously understood. While southern Egypt, Upper Egypt, was traditionally viewed as the cradle of early Egyptian civilization, recent discoveries have pushed back the timeline of human settlement, agriculture, and complex society in North Africa. Excuse me, in the north, right? Discoveries indicating older sites, pre-dynastic settlements, excavations has uncovered villages, sites that predate the first dynasty, providing evidence of communities living in the delta thousands of years before the unification of Egypt. Let's start cooking, Chief. Geological core drilling. Research using deep core drilling has found evidence of human activity, such as manuports, carried stones, in northern delta, dating to the pre-dynastic period 3350 to 3020 BC. Earlier urban centers of 3,400-year-old Egyptian cities has been found in the north, such as near Alexandria, which is on the coast, indicating significant planned settlements in the region during the New Kingdom. Pre-dynastic in culture, evidence from places like the Fayum, the Delta indicate that Quadan culture, 15,000, 10,000 BC, and later pre-dynastic cultures were developing agriculture and eventually a proto-Egyptian identity long before the major pyramid building eras. A proto-Egyptian identity from them people bringing agriculture from the north. Why is this older focus now emerging? Because of new technologies. Like I said. What? Come on, computer. Because of new technologies now. Advancement in geoarchaeology and satellite imaging are allowing researchers to locate sites buried deep under the silt in the Nile Delta that were previously inaccessible or unknown. Come through, North. Shift in focus. Historically, Egyptology focused on monumental visible structures in the south, Luxor, Abydos. Recently, there's a greater focus on the Delta to understand the origins of pre-dynastic everyday life and trade connections with the Levant. Okay? Reevaluation of northern sites. Places like Saqqara and sites in the Nile Delta are constantly yielding new, older tombs that connect the early kings with the people living around them. In summary, the Delta is now recognized as a vital ancient cradle of civilization with archaeology continually uncovering sites that predate the traditional accepted timeline of early Egyptian history. Yeah, they're looking to the north now. Now that we all clearly understand that a lot of the DNA comes from the north, well, hell, some of this is some common sense. Okay? Now, let's explain this. So, the brains, once the two lands were unified, the brains were in the north. The capital was in the north. Memphis was the capital for thousands of years, I believe. It's in the north. The north had agriculture down, and they spread that to the south. Okay? Now, the Nile Delta was considered the economic and strategic heart of the two lands, acting as a gateway for trade and foreign relations. However, political unification was driven by Upper Egypt, the Southern Valley. So the big thing about in the South was the political unification, and they had a better military. They could fight a little better. So people gravitated towards them because of the archaeology in the South, and they fought better. But they weren't the brains. They weren't the hub. The North was considered the economic and strategic heart of the two lands, acting as the gateway for trade and foreign relations. However, the political unification was driven by Upper Egypt. Okay, here's a breakdown of the roles of the two lands. Just give you a basic breakdown. Lower Egypt, aka the North or Northern Egypt, known as Tamahu, the land of the papyrus. By the way, papyrus is all up in the marshland, in the delta, in northern Egypt. Okay? Let them know. Northern Egypt, known as Tamu, the land of papyrus, it was highly fertile, supported a large population. And by the way, yes, in the north was a larger population of people, the brains, okay? Supported a large population and provided crucial access to the Mediterranean Sea and trade routes with who? The Levant. It was economically advanced and served as the hub for agriculture and commerce. They're basically saying they were more economically advanced. They were more technologically advanced in the north. and gave the South shit, okay? Upper Egypt, the South, known as Ta Shemau, land of reed, this region was more rural but military dominant. Understand that. It was a more rural area with less population. They simply were better fighters and they kicked northern Egypt's ass. And it's okay. But they're the same people. So no need for you to take sides. Neither one of them are black folk, whether you're talking about upper or lower Egypt. So it's no need for you to take sides. We're just hashing out and teasing out these things, right? According to history, in the Narmer Palette was the upper Egyptian rulers who conquered the north to unite the country, right? The power structure, while Upper Egypt conquered Lower Egypt, they recognized the importance of the north by establishing their capital, Memphis, at the junction of the two regions near modern-day Cairo to control the resources of the delta. So they established the capital in Memphis. We can't have no capital down in the south with you rural people. With y'all country down there in the south. We more modern up here in the north. Therefore, Lower Egypt was the engine, aka Northern Egypt was the engine of wealth and trade, while Upper Egypt provided the political and military leadership that established the unified state. But the brains was Northern Egypt. Y'all was just better fighters in the south. Okay? Are we clear? Let's move on. Memphis was chosen as the capital. I wonder why, though, but Memphis was chosen as the first dynasty capital. So the first dynasty capital was in northern Egypt. It strategically unified. Sorry, excuse me, I'm reading it wrong. Memphis was chosen as the first dynasty capital by King Menes, aka Narmer, to strategically unify Upper and Lower Egypt, located at the pivotal junction of the Nile, Delta, and Valley. The northern location allowed for control over trade routes, proximity to the Delta's resources, and served as a central administrative hub. It had way more going on. When you're talking about doing business in the Mediterranean and dealing with all these different other groups of people in West Asia and other Mediterranean people, Romans and Greeks floating around and doing trade and all kind of stuff, the North was running this stuff. All they really wanted from the South was some animal skins and gold, and they ran that gold up to the North and sold that stuff and was balling out. Okay? Political unity situated between Upper, South, Lower. It was ideal for managing newly unified kingdom, acting as a balance of the two lands. Strategic control positioned at the apex of the Nile Delta, which is northern Egypt. It commanded river traffic, trade routes from the Red Sea, and access to the Levant. It was a bit more important. Defense and administration. The location helped secure the boundary between the two formerly separate regions. It was established as a white wall fortress to control approaches to the Delta. It's an economic hub. Its position supported the development of workshops, shipyards, storage, serving as a center for trade and commerce. Now, mind you, listen, when I say shipyards and storage and serving as a center for trade and commerce, understand this. Let me put this up here so you can understand. Shipyards, being seafaring people, right? Think about it like this. Here's Upper and Lower Egypt. Here's Egypt. And let me widen this out. Okay. Now, in Upper Egypt, with Southern Egypt, all this is Egypt. None of it is Sudan. But understand this. Aswan is the first cataract. So Egyptians were able to flow uninterrupted, quarrying granite from Aswan, Egypt, not granite from Sudan, getting granite from Aswan, Egypt to help build stuff. Wood came from Lebanon. 60% of the building materials come from the north. The rest comes from the south, okay? Southern Egypt, right? But Egyptians were able to easily flow up and down this Nile River uninterrupted. It was a highway. Uninterrupted all the way up to the delta, and then the delta goes out into the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? Now, this couldn't have happened. Below the first cataract, these people cannot flow up the Nile uninterrupted. The Cushites and people lower. They were not floating any rocks or bricks from down here by Cush, by the second cataract, the third cataract, and the fourth cataracts. These are rocky areas going all up and down, circles every which way, rocks and cataracts. You can't float no boat through no cataract. You're going to hit a rock and crack the goddamn bottom of the boat. Shallow waters, all kind of problems with these cataracts. You only can flow smoothly from Aswan up north. So I know people like to think because the river flows from south to north, it didn't flow smoothly in the south for navigation purposes. But Egypt can freely navigate, but Cushites never could. And anybody in the south never could because of cataracts. They had to get off the boats and carry the boat in materials, if anything did come from there, through land. Egyptians were the only ones who flowed uninterrupted up through here. Okay? So I just want you to understand that tidbit about the Nile River and the smooth flowing of it. Okay? Now, where were we? So when it says it was an economic hub and shipyards and stuff, they couldn't have all that south of Aswan. It says what? The location was near the developing necropolises of Saqqara, Giza, and Dashur, which is all in the north. Memphis in the north remained the capital for over 1,000 years, serving as the administrative heart for 70 kings. Okay? They came from the north. I'm making that argument. Yeah, they came from both, but I just want to make my argument. Now, oh, come on, pop in. Ancient Egyptian village found in the Nile Delta predated pharaohs, archaeologists say. Right? They're finding so much stuff in northern Egypt, and they're going to continue to find more. So I just wanted to show that, right? NBC News was reporting that. Memphis served as the capital of Egypt during the Old Kingdom and remained a vital administrative, commercial, and religious hub for most of ancient Egyptian history. Founded around 3100 BC. Wasn't Egypt founded in 3100 BC by King Narmer? Right? It was the first capital of unified Egypt and acted as a major political center through early dynasties. I'm sorry. Primary capital, it was the residence of pharaohs from the first dynasty through the 8th dynasty. So from the first dynasty through the 8th dynasty, the capital was in the north for all kings. Memphis remained a major religious center for the god Ptah. But throughout all Egyptian history, Memphis continued as a crucial cultural and economic center for thousands of years. Let's move on. We're almost done. So, Neolithic agriculture, including domestic wheat, barley, sheep, and goats, was introduced to Egypt from West Asia, the Levant, not from the South, not from anyone in the South. Neolithic agriculture, including domesticated wheat, barley, sheep, and goats, was introduced to Egypt from West Asia, the Levant, during the 6th millennium BC. Now, these people are introducing things to Egypt thousands of years ago, moving in and out, migrating out of Africa, back into Africa, up and down the Nile, all throughout the Neolithic period. These people are coming from the north, settling in with agriculture, while people in the deeper south are still hunter-gatherers, and they're settling there. Then 2,000-3,000 years later, they formed a nation state called Egypt. But first they came down the Nile, hung out in the Nile for thousands of years, became part of the African culture of the Nile Valley, but their distant ancestors came from the north. Right? Common sense. The earliest evidence for agriculture, rather than solely hunter-gatherer lifestyles in Egypt, appears in the late 6th century millennium BC, particularly in where? The northern Nile Delta. Because outside of that, what was they talking about? They was hunter-gatherers. And to the north, people came from the north and brought that shit in settlements. So people are like, oh, Chief Tech said they were hunter-gathering in the deep, deep south. Yeah. It's okay. Neither one of them are your people. Get over it. Introduce domesticates. The package brought from the Levant included emmer, wheat, barley. Okay, bye bye. Just evidence point to significant contact with the Levant. It's just what it is. The Neolithic culture in Egypt rapidly adapted these techniques to the local environment, particularly adapting to the annual flood of the Nile, indigenous activity before the alongside, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's move on. Let's just do this. The earliest known permanent Neolithic settlements in ancient Egypt. That's very important. We're talking about permanent settlements. People settled, right? Set up camp. In 5,000, 7,000 BC. And they came from the Neolithic package, the South. Permanent settlements in ancient Egypt appeared around 5,000, 7,000 BC in the Nile Delta and along the Nile Valley, with major sites at what? Tel Al Samara. That's in the north. That's northern Egypt. Marimbi Bana Salama, I can't pronounce it. Southwestern Delta, that's also in the north. And I think Al Fayoum, if I'm not correctly, is in middle or central. I may be wrong. I have to look that up again. But I think they may be in the north, right? These farming communities utilize stones, pottery, and storage soils, right? Key early significant locations. Tel El Samara. It's in the north. Marimbi Beni Sinai. It's in the north. Even Al Fayoum is in the north. Now, I think Badari is in the south. I might be wrong. I have to relook that up. I don't have the best memory. But all these earliest permanent settlements were in the north. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so right here. It's in northern Egypt. Tel El Samari is located where? In northern Egypt. These are the earliest settlements. Now, you got to understand the wording. I said permanent settlements, not just people there hunting and gathering and running around and, laying a rock on the floor, okay? Let's go. So they're talking about here in Science Daily, Egypt's earliest agricultural settlements. University of California, Los Angeles. Archaeologists from UCLA and the University Groningen in the Netherlands have found the earliest evidence of ever discovered of ancient Egyptian agricultural settlement, including farm grains, remains of domesticated animals, blah, 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 all in the north. Trade links with the Red Sea, including thoroughfare from Mesopotamia. Now, we find that the new Old Kingdom mummies have Mesopotamian DNA. Clearly, they came from the north, which is known to have practiced agriculture when 2,000 years before ancient Egypt. 2,000 years is a long, long time. They came from the north. They've been settled from people coming from the north for thousands of years before the Egyptian state was made. By the time of the pharaohs, everything in ancient Egypt centered around agriculture. That's a powerful statement. By the time of the pharaohs, it's saying, everything in ancient Egypt centered around agriculture from the north, said Wilkie Windrich, the excavations co-director and associate professor of Near Eastern language and cultures at UCLA. We found here is a window to the development of agriculture some 2,000 years earlier. So we hope this answers your basic questions about how, why, and when Egypt adopted agriculture, when the people from the north brought it. Okay? I asked this question, and I had to do a little more further research. I said, how long have the people from how long have people from West Asia been traveling up and down the Nile River? People from West Asia, Levant, Near East have been traveling to and navigating the river for at least 5,000 to 6,000 years, dating back to the pre-dynastic period and the rise of ancient Egyptians dynasty. Evidence of trade, culture, exchange, and migration. If they're migrating, they're coming from somewhere between the Levant and the Nile Delta exists from this earliest era. Fam, if people have been coming up and down the Nile for 6,000 years from West Asia, they've settled and brought settlement permanently in agriculture. That means they came from the north, they blended in and had a blended culture and got it cracking. The brains came from the north. The military came from southern Egypt. Okay? By 6000 BC, the Nile Valley saw settled agriculture, and by 31 BC, trade routes were established, linking the Nile Valley with surrounding regions, including Western Asia. A significant influx of West Asian peoples, the Hyksos, moved into the Nile Delta, establishing control in 1650 BC. Right? The Nile served as a major artery for importing goods from the Levant, such as timber, oils, and wine, throughout the Pharaonic area. So, for over 5,000 years, the Nile served as both a barrier to invasion and a highway for trade, with Western Asians playing a key role in its history. Western Asians playing a key role in its history. Let's move on. Come on now, computer. This was important. I want to just get this across so people can understand. Oh shit, my shit's freezing on me. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so I don't know why I'm still thinking, but I wanted to speak about where ancient Egypt got its building materials, like granite and wood. Um, it's thinking, it's not popping in. So anyway, but off the head, ancient Egypt got its granite mainly from Aswan, Egypt, not Nubia, like people want you to think, because Aswan is where the first cataract is, and they can easily float it up uninterrupted without any cataracts. So they got their granite from Aswan, Egypt. I like to say Egypt after Aswan because a lot of people want to say South and Aswan and have you thinking Sudan. So we're going to get our thinking back on track. From Aswan up, from the first cataract, that's all Egypt. And they floated that granite up. They also got their granite 25% of the time, I'm just estimating, from the Sinai Peninsula, which is Egypt, that's actually in West Asia. They got their wood from Lebanon, right? From the north into Egypt. Okay, so this is taking too long, so let's move on. That's all I wanted to show you. All right. Um, if it did pop in, it was just going to show that Tura, Egypt, is a lot of it was where they got a lot of building material too, and that's in northern Egypt. Okay, let's move forward. We're almost done, family. Here we go, where it says the Egyptians source the vast majority of their granite from quarries in Aswan, Egypt, located in southern Egypt along the Nile. This Aswan granite, often red or pink, was transported over 500 miles north via barges on the Nile to build temples, obelisks. Okay, now you wouldn't have been able to float it if it was below the first cataract. Okay. Primary source, the quarries at Aswan, right, were the main source, right? Um, extraction method. Initially, workers use okay. Let's move forward. We got about 3 more slides. Like, so I want people to understand, like, the Nile Delta, or the Delta, is marshlands and it's wet. It flows out to the Mediterranean, so it's considered the Mediterranean region. Yes, the delta is considered part of the Mediterranean region, acting as a crucial, fertile, and low-lying coastal zone in northern Egypt. It forms the southern edge of the eastern Mediterranean basin, featuring a Mediterranean climate and spanning approximately 240 kilometers from the coastline from Alexandria. Right now, situated directly on the Mediterranean Sea, it is where the Nile River empties into the sea, right? Um, it represents about 16% of the total Mediterranean coast. Okay, let's move forward. Now, papyrus, all them papyruses comes up off that marshland in northern Egypt. In these marshy wetlands in northern Egypt, mainly. Okay, let's move forward. Now, I had to ask, what are the 3 oldest major stone monuments in Egypt? The Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, the Bent Pyramid Sneferu at Dashur, and the Red Pyramid of Sneferu, also at Dashur. Guess where all these 3 oldest pyramids is located? They're all in North Africa. I'm not sorry, not North Africa. They're all in northern Egypt. If they're in northern Egypt, if some of these things are close to the delta, then that means they would be in the Mediterranean region. So, for example, let's just use this common sense logic real quick. This is my globe, okay? Let me get my pen. Here's Egypt. If let me just use my finger. Here goes Egypt. If something was built way up here, all these structures in northern Egypt, if it was built way up here, then more than likely people in this area in northern Egypt and in the Mediterranean region built it. If something was built in Brazil, more than likely some Brazilians built it. So every oldest structure is in the north. Like, and I'm not even making this up. So let me just share my screen because I got 2 more things and we're gonna get out of here. All these pyramids and older structures are in the north. Nubians didn't build pyramids till maybe 3,000 years later. 3,000 years later, but then they want to call Nubia the mother of Egypt. How can you be the mother when you're doing shit 3,000 years later? Your written language, Maradic, 2,000, 3,000 years later. So if someone's calling Nubia the mama, then that means they're saying Egypt is the child. How does that work out? How does a child have language and pyramids and these structures before the mama? Only Afrocentrics came up with this phrase, Nubia is the mother of Egypt. Afrocentrics came up with that phrase. Not one person in academia rolls with that bullshit. Now, also, if Afrocentrics are saying Nubia is the mother of Egypt, they're also saying, by logic, the mother and the child are the same people. My mama black. She had me. I'm black. Me and my mama are the same people. We family. Mama, son. So if you're saying Nubia is the mother of Egypt, what you're saying is Cushites and Egyptians are the same goddamn people. It's just another play, but people don't think about this logic. Now, let's move on. Not only are the 3 oldest pyramids in northern Egypt, even the Great Sphinx is in northern Egypt. On the Giza Plateau on the west bank of the Nile, just outside of Cairo. Come on, family. They came from the north. The north was where the big brains were. I already showed you, they said in the south was more rural. Rural. I can barely say the word. Right? Even the royal Amarna family centered around Pharaoh Akhenaten, Queen Nefertiti, of Egypt's 18th dynasty, Queen T, let's not forget her, originated in Egypt with ancestors deeply rooted in the Nile Valley with significant African genetic markers. The family established their capital. That's not what I want to read. Where's it at? Okay, hold on. Geographic origins. The ancestors of the Amarna royal family, including Amenhotep, Queen T, were native Egyptians with their power center in Thebes, Luxor, before moving to Amarna. Now, their genetic ancestry, DNA analysis of the Amarna family group indicates it's of African origin with specific markers like those carried by Akhenaten, frequently found in the region of Thebes and the Valley of the Kings. Ancestral lineage. Queen T, mother of Akhenaten, was influential in his upbringing. The family often linked through, this is some bullshit I pulled up, through the Nubian regions of the south, according to studies of the name Amarna itself comes from the modern day. Anyway, I don't know what I Googled, but Queen T and the Amarna families, mtDNA, is haplogroup 2. Let me just type it in so people won't think I'm off. Okay, here we go. Let me just blow this up so we can all see. Okay. Yes, genetic studies of the 18th Amarna royal family mummies have identified that several key members, including King Tut and his father Akhenaten, belong to the mitochondrial DNA mtDNA haplogroup K. Tutankhamun haplogroup K, Akhenaten haplogroup K, Tut's grandmother haplogroup K, Thuya, the great-grandmother and great-grandfather, haplogroup K. Now, all you got to do is look up haplogroup K. What it is? Here it is, origin. Haplogroup K is a subgroup of the haplogroup U8, commonly found in Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. The presence of these haplogroups, which are more common in what? West Asia, West Eurasia and the Near East, more than Sub-Saharan Africa. So mtDNA-K is in West Asia. That's what the Amarna family is made of. So like my distant ancestors are in West and Central Africa. These people came from the South. Okay, what else? That was about the end of it. So listen to the points I've made. Agriculture came from the north into Egypt. People throughout West Asia and North Africa been migrating in and out of Africa 50,000 years, in and out of Africa, back in Africa, all across North Africa, back in and out, up and down the Nile, up and down the Nile, up and down the Nile, all across, in and out, for thousands of years. So these people coming in and out, in and out, in and out, going up and down the Nile, up and down the Nile, came from the north. North began to populate. They had some people coming from the Green Sahara and other areas and populated down here. But these people that populated along the Nile Valley in Egypt, their ancestry came from the north. All of the three oldest pyramids built in the north. The Sphinx built in the north. The brains, the capital, Memphis, in the north. Everything about the north is special, more special to me. Now, I said before I made this presentation, anyone can make an argument saying that they formed from the south or southern Egypt, or you can say you can make an argument either way. I just prefer to make my argument of they came from the north. Because I'm a troll. What y'all talking about in the chat? You say, so pyramid is not a southern thing? No. Them Johnny come latelys with pyramid building. The pyramid builders were people flowing through North Africa, which has never been Black Africa, and people coming all up out the West Asia and floating in and out for 1,000 years, and they dominated Egypt because Egyptians can be three things at once. I can be three things at once. I can be an American, I can be a Californian, and I can be a Los Angelenos. But I can't be a person from what Egypt can be. They can have remnants of West Asia, North Africa, Levant. They can be 3-4 things at once. And it's okay. They can be African. They can be Mediterranean. You can be three things at once. But Corey McKinney on here, he can be an American, but he can't be a Los Angelenos from Los Angeles. Corey can't be a Los Angelenos or native for Los Angelenos. So everybody has a different geographical area that they can claim and represent. They came from the north. That's my presentation. Let me read a few comments before I get out of here, because I'm hungry and I gotta go to the gym. Wait a minute, alcoholics don't go to the gym. Drunks don't go to the gym and look this good. They'd probably be drinking right now, right, Unc? Let me stop. What you say, Lucas Brown? They gonna move the goalposts, Chief. Once you establish that these indigenous people of West Asia aren't from Africa, these new arguments over there still melody and therefore black. Yeah, I just wanted to put this little argument down. If they came from the north down and lay out my argument. I had a great argument. Don't hate. People got to be honest. I had a great fucking argument. Anybody say otherwise is just simply lying. What you say, Ghost Shoe? Check out your questions. Yeah, they do feel crappy about this information. Why black people are the only race that has nappy hair and not straight hair? That's funny. What But you say, Sam, very great argument. Sticking to the facts, you know. So somebody was saying, oh, black folk can have all types of hair. Now, we have to clarify this claim. My stuff is nappy, even though I'm bald now. My stuff is nappy. My brother's nappy. My son is nappy. Tightly coiled. My son be leaving his coiled hair in the sink. I'm like, damn, his hair nappy. He can grow some locks and lock that shit up in 2 days. No, but just about 100%, 100% of Western Central Africans are nappy. There's nobody with no soft, loose, curly hair, not one. Go to the Dinka tribe, all these people. You're not going to find one loose, all these people are going to be nappy. And that's the way it comes out. Now, as Black Americans, we differ because we have European DNA. So my lady friend, his hair is very loose, curly. Sometimes she think like if she look at it from behind, you'll think she's a Mexican. And even when she just lets it go and washes it, it just gets frizzy. It doesn't get nappy because that's that European DNA in her. People in the Horn of Africa are admixed, so they have loose, curly hair. But besides the Horn of Africa, 99% of sub-Saharan Africans are 100% nappy. Some people don't like the word nappy. It's okay. I don't have a problem with the word nappy. Tightly coiled. What else you asked me, bro? Let me look through these comments. I guess Sam and Ghost Shoe was talking to each other. You said this white North Africans, not European white, right? Yeah. So sometimes I don't like to say white North African because I don't consider North Africans white in the sense of somebody from Germany or Britain or Sweden. I don't consider. But sometimes I'll say white Africa and black Africa just to juxtapose North Africa from sub-Saharan Africa. So I don't know where I was at when you said this question, but I guess, white North Africans I'm talking about. That's true, Lucas Brown. Okay. I think I made a great argument. And I'm sure somebody will maybe make a similar argument or challenge it. And, we'll see. But I'm putting on the record that people can make an argument from the South or from the North. And actually, both can be true also. I just give more credence to the North because of the genetic factor and because of agriculture and permanent settlements first. That's just the angle I'm coming from. All right, y'all. What you say, Sam? Tightly coiled hair can be found in Asia, Africa, and Oceania. Well, I don't consider Pacific Islanders to have tightly coiled hair. Theirs is more loose, curly, and or frizzy. A lot of them Oceanian people are not tightly coiled. Now, you can say the Negritos. Okay, that's a small population. You can say Adam and Eve Island, people. It's only about 400 of them. Outside of sub-Saharan Africa, outside of sub-Saharan Africa, the black population might not even be 5%. You said don't forget to make a video about the one drop rule. Yeah, like when you talk about all of Europe, all of Caucasus, China, India, all of West Asia, Japan, Southeast Asia, you barely find black folk, but in certain islands. Pacific Islands and people around Australia, these small little pockets. But in the big scheme of things, what you would consider a black folk, I'm going to even say less than that, would it be about 3% outside of sub-Saharan Africa in totality. That's a small percentage. All right, y'all. I'm out.